Ha! I think you got it working! Yeah. Welcome back to Tersse back on whatever it is I'm doing. I can't remember. I'm having a drink. I had an idea. On my cat, I was just chasing my cat off and it's so loud. I've got to calm down. Stop shouting, Tersse, stop shouting. So there's a Tersse back in the old squat box once again. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? It's Tersse back in the old squat box once again. I'm here to discuss a very important piece of public information that needs to be out there. You know, all you people that have got pets, right? The best way to look after your pet, apparently, today is to make sure that when you get your pet, you obviously they get all their injections and stuff. You know what you do with your kid. You know, by the time your kid's 5 and goes into school, it should have all its injections. You know, all its inoculations. You know, it should be immune to the smallpox, the big pox, the medium level pox, and tuberculosis, mumps, rubella, green fever, yellow fever, red fever, scarlet fever, chicken pox, cow pox, I don't know, the hot pox, and death. You know, it should be inoculated against death, basically. It should never die. Your child should never die. It should be inoculated against death, right? So we've got all your kids all inoculated against that. But then you've got pets. Pets who make your child's life better, because when you're not there, because you're out working really fucking hard, 24/7 to buy them, to earn the money to buy those inoculations and I don't know, the shitty plastic toys that your kid plays with, and all that other crap, I don't know, a hut at the bottom of the garden, a pony, you know what I mean? Even if it's a plastic pony. We get the plastic pony, the small plastic ponies with the dolls and stuff. You're buying all that shit for them. But you've got to make sure first of all that they don't die. So you get them inoculated against death, and then you buy them all the plastic shit, big enough that they can't chew it and swallow it. Fantastic. That's it. Your kid's not going to die anytime soon. But you need to, I don't know, feed their brain. Feed their head. I mean, in the 60s it was easy, you know what I mean? You just let your kid go out and buy pot and acid and get fucked up and listen to rock music. But nowadays that's illegal, you know what I mean? You're not allowed to take fucking LSD, you're not allowed to smoke pot, and you're not allowed to listen to rock music. I mean, it's all illegal now, it's fucking illegal to enjoy yourself. It's like, that just makes you crazy. Apparently doing that shit makes you crazy. So your kid's not allowed to do it, but they are allowed to have pets. They're allowed to have funny little animals to hug and squeeze, not too tightly. Don't squeeze as tight as that, Jared. Cuddle it. Don't squeeze. Cuddle it. You got to teach your kids how to cuddle the little animals, the little Bambies. You know what I mean? You don't want Bambi to be dying. You know what I mean? Although you'd rather your kid lived than Bambi, but you don't want Bambi dying either. Your kid crying for another Bambi. You know what I mean? You've got to teach them how to look after the Bambis. After they've killed a few, you've got to teach them how to look after them so they don't kill them anymore. Don't squeeze them too hard. Right? So you teach them how. But how do you know whose Bambi's whose? You know what I mean? I think a good idea is this idea that all your Bambis and your dogs and puppies and cats, they should all be chipped. They should all be chipped. They should all be chipped so we know whose Bambi and puppy and kittens is whose. And then we know who's treating them bad when we find them treated bad. That's a good idea. Don't you think that's a good idea? I'm just asking you, people, don't you think that's a fucking good idea? That when we find abused kittens and puppies and Bambis in the street, you know what I mean? Other people save them, you know what I mean? Isn't that a good idea that we can scan them, find the chip, and that leads us back to the person who's treated it badly? I think that's a fucking fantastic idea. In fact, I think it's such a fucking good idea. I think we should extend it to fucking kids. I think we should be chipping were kids, and therefore when you find a kid with a fucking black eye or a broken arm, you know, you can scan their chip and find out who's supposed to have been looking after them and who's responsible for the broken arm of the, you know, of that child. You know, I just think that's a fucking brilliant idea. We chip dogs and we chip cats and we chip horses, you know what I mean? You know, because, you know, then we can find out who's supposed to own them and who's responsible for the damage, you know what I mean? Why don't we do that with kids? That's a fucking fantastic idea. I think we should chip over. Every kid should be chipped at birth. You know what I mean? When they're born and we take their little footprint, isn't that pretty, that little footprint picture you get, you know, and you can take it home, and that's it, that's your footprint, you know, in 12 years, that's your footprint when, you know, when you were born in hospital, that's fine, you know. I think it would be great if we just chipped them, and you go home and go, that's your chip out reading, you know what I mean? that wave band, you know, 89.556 hertz, you know, that's your chip wave band. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that beautiful? I would love to have that, you know. In fact, I don't think it should just be kids that get chipped. Old age pensioners, when you put them into like a residential home, I think you should fucking chip them to make sure that if ever anything bad ever happens to them and that they disappear, you know what I mean, or that the home burns down, you know what I mean, you can make sure that that body that's in there is definitely your dad, or your granddad, or your grandma, you know, or your uncle, you know what I mean? Because who knows, that could be just like, you know, a fake body, and your granddad could be shipped off to work in some slave mine somewhere in the world, you know. You should be able to scan that body. There's a chip, yeah, we know it's definitely him. His chip's there, you know what I mean? And I don't think the chip should just be under the skin. It should actually be inserted inside a bone. You know, like you know, the femur, you know what I mean? The femur bone, or you know, like you know, the shoulder bone, somewhere where, you know, and it shouldn't be, no, it shouldn't be like standard. It's always in the one bone, because then they could just cut that bone out and throw it away and think, oh well, you know, the body's there, but no, there's nothing to scan. You know, a bit of bone's missing. You know, what could have happened from the explosion or a roof falling on them. You know, yeah, no, it should be hidden in different bones: toe bones, ear bones, nose bones, finger bones. You know, I mean, shoulder bones. Rib bones, hip bones, you know, so they can't know what bone to cut out, and then people can't be kidnapped and smuggled across the world to become slaves. Obviously, that's not so important, I think, to be worrying about for old people like me and your granddad. You know what I mean? Or your great granddad, you know, me and your great granddad, because nobody's going to want to capture us. There's not much work left in us, you know. But young people should all be chipped. They should all be chipped so we know where they are. And you know, we can find out who they are if they die in an earthquake, you know, like in Nepal recently. How quick would it be to find people if you go in there with a scanner and scan, and the rubble would give a bleep if somebody with a chip in them is under the rubble, rather than have to bring dogs in to sniff for fresh blood or breath, you know what I mean, or dead carcass, you know, because certain dogs are brought in to sniff for dead bodies, and other dogs are specially trained to sniff for, you know, live bodies. I think just a scanner looking for a chip would be a great idea. So I think everybody in the world should be chipped. At birth, we should all be chipped. We should all go to the hospital next week and get chipped. Everybody should be forced to get, starting with the royal family and with politicians. They should be the first fuckers to get chipped. Yeah, just to make sure that these chips aren't just some way to track us down and, you know, explode our brains like we see in so many science fiction movies, because that would be a fucker, wouldn't it? If I'm telling you, me as a fucking socialist, let's all get chipped, and you all get chipped, and then somebody blows your head off, you know what I mean, like in that movie The Kinsman. I wouldn't want that to happen, don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic idea if it's just rich people like Kinsman's who get blown up. That would be brilliant. If it was just the quick and the rich and the sad that got blown up, that would be fantastic. You know, I'd be all for that, chipping they fuckers, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, everybody should be chipped, and then we can find you if you get lost in the mountains. The satellite can fucking detect your chip. Bang. Now we know where you are. As soon as we find out you're missing, we can scan the earth with satellites and find you. It's going to be fucking terrible for people who want to commit suicide, who want to go up into the mountains, just lie there, and you know, and sort of like wait till they starve to death. It's going to be pretty bad for you. We're going to find you. People who jump off mountains, or jump out of airplanes and don't pull the parachute, we're not going to be able to do much about that. But we will be able to detect your chip and find the hole in the ground you fell into when you didn't pull your parachute, and therefore give your family something, some sucker to find to burn or bury or whatever they do with it, you know. So yeah, I'm all for chipping. Chip people, chip animals, chip everything. We should be chipping the whole world. The whole world should be chipped. And then we know where you are, we know what you're up to, we know what you're doing, and it's only if you're doing bad shit that you need to worry about that fucking crap. If you just like everybody else, fucking 8 hours a day, go home and fucking, you know, shag your wife, or don't go home, shag your neighbour's wife, you know what I mean? Yeah. All you've got to make sure is your neighbour doesn't get access to find out where your chip and her chip is, you know what I mean? So maybe only the government finds out, how to, access the chip, or the chip only gets activated when you're reported missing after 24 hours. That means if you turn up and, the way's got to admit that, well, I was only trying to use that information to find out whether he was cheating on me, and then she gets sued for £1,000, maybe she won't do it again, that sort of thing, So chipping, I chip everybody, chip the world, chip the pets, chip the people, chip their kids, chip their cars, you know what I mean? Chip everything, chip the fucking world. Hashtag chip the world, that's me. I think it'd be a better fucking place. You've only got to look at the shit that goes on in America, but it's only coming to light. A lot of people admit it's only coming to light because of the amount of fucking mobile phones with fucking cameras in them, right? Well, Britain is one of the most fucking camera places in the world. We have got some of the, some cities with the most cameras, the most CCTV cameras in the fucking world, and it has led to reducing crime. Now, I think every city should have a fucking camera on every fucking corner, and every person should have a fucking chip in their fucking shoulder. Yeah, see that old adage, that old thing, you want to get rid of that chip on your shoulder. No, you need to get a chip on your shoulder. It's got to be the red chip though. It's got to be the chip that we can detect and follow and find out where you are at every time of the day, you know what I mean? If we need to. We don't do it just cause we can. We don't. They shouldn't have enough memory, and recording, hardware, so that they know where you are every minute of the day. But they should have enough hardware so that if you ever become, your chip ever becomes, a target of interest, they can find out where your chip is. I believe that is the road we should move to. They don't know where every chip is every minute of the day. But if your chip becomes an important chip to find out where it is, they can find out where it is. That's the kind of world I believe is going to be a safer world. Everybody has a chip. It's just not being recorded or detected every minute of the day. And we should make sure and legislate and regulate that the government can't have enough processing power to follow every chip. They can only follow the chips that they're told to look for. You know what I mean? Which is, if someone puts in a record of my kids went missing, please find their chip. Then that chip can be looked for. Only then, you know what I mean? They don't know where it is until they seek it. That's what I'm saying. And as I say, the special ability, or you know, the special reason, I think also that, you know, chips aren't put in just, you know, the same place all the time. It's because if, for instance, you know, your chip was, you know, like in that movie where the crystal was in your hand, you know what I mean? Well, if someone was into kidnapping kids for, you know, nefarious reasons, and they knew the chip was always in their left or right hand, they would cut the hands off the kid, and then they would still torture and abuse the kid for fucking days or weeks. You know what I mean? You know, that's not so. No, you know what I mean? There shouldn't be any one place that the chip is always inserted in. It should be put in multiple different places in the body, and the ability to detect these chips should not be open to the normal public. And anybody who can have access to the detection of a chip under your body, that should be highly restricted. And then we can always find out if somebody's doing that. We can always find out who it is that have access to it, and that would make it quite defined. Nefarious people who cut them out of the bodies of people that they kidnapped. You know what I mean? And it would probably lead to, as always known, that if someone gets kidnapped and you couldn't track their chip, it's a government that's doing it, and therefore we just have to work out what government would want to kidnap that person, and then we can fucking bomb the fuckers! You know, I'm only joking. I'm not into bombing fucking countries, but you know, it just seemed like a really nice way to end the video. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then we can bomb the fuckers. So on, you fucking bomb motherfuckers. I hope you enjoyed this crazy fucking mad video. But I really do think we should be chipping everybody and everything in the world, every animal, every human being. Every car, every plane, everything that can move, we should be chipping it so we know where the fuck it is when we need to know where it is. We should be following it every second of the day, but we should be able to find it when we need to find it, is what I'm saying. You would never lose a needle in a haystack ever again, is what I'm saying. So on, you fucking bad motherfuckers. Drunken Terse video number blah blah blah. No, number, blah, blah, blah. On you fucking fuck.